Welcome back, Frostburg State fans. We have finally finished our fall sports season. We are in the full flux of winter, but wanted you to give a recap of our fall sports here. Logan Walsh joined by Morgan Cuthbertson as usual. And Morgan, well, it was very busy fall to start off with. A lot of success, some new heights reached, some new programs introduced as well. And overall, just, as busy as it was still pretty enjoyable throughout the whole thing.
And we talk about, busyness. I came in, last winter, winter's not too bad, eased in. Spring's like, bam, gets you right in. Fall's right behind there. But, I'm happy to be here. Thanks for having me. Fall, super fun fall. Had a great time. Weather stayed pretty nice, I'd say, for the most part, which is kind of different in Frostburg, I feel like. But to kick it off, when you talked about new sports teams, women's rugby definitely, had to learn a lot about that. I think, our whole department did. But, Jeff Horton, head coach for, one of the programs that was introduced new, for this, coming school year, did a fantastic job, found a team, which, women's rugby, just rugby in general, is not super popular. So, he formed that team. The girls, super sweet girls, a lot of them had to, learn and adapt to the sport, but it was super fun to watch. They did get, that first, ever program win over Kent State. So first year, it's rebuilding year, you come in, you compete and see where it goes. So definitely that was a good fun sport to watch and start the fall off with.
Yeah, and Coach Horton has to be remembered that he filled the schedule with pretty tough opponents. Bowdoin starting out the year with, a defending national champion and one of the premier programs in the sport. And certainly the girls were tested, some injuries throughout the way led to some interesting results and had to modify some of the matches. But another year for him to build that program. And you have to see, a couple of the players that really got brought in that, are going to be there for a longer term. And just fielding a program in general. You mentioned rugby, not a very well-known sport here in America, and especially on the women's side, one that we'll certainly look forward to next year, maybe some more matches on the schedule, hoping for some better results as well, but happy for them to have their time in the sunshine and in the rain, as we learned in their first home match that they had this year. We'll get into the cross-country season then. We'll start out with the men who continue to build, and head coach Shane Brookshire really making this program known throughout the region. They finished top 10 at the regional meet in the NCAAs, their second time making it at the Division II level, a fourth place finish in the conference, and some that a lot of those guys are going to be returning in here next year to build upon and maybe, challenge that upper echelon of the Mountain East Conference and the region as a whole.
Sure, what sticks out to me is, they competed in 7 meets, I believe, and that 4th place finish out of 10 teams in the MEC, that's a solid finish. Hats off to, head coach Shane Brookshire, did a great job. But what stuck out to me this, for men's cross country, they finished first in one of their meets this year first out of 20 teams in the Bethany Invite. Freshman Ryan Conley did a great job coming in. His first collegiate experience, placed, I believe, 8th in that meet. And then, of course, senior Justice Lee Provost, fantastic runner. All 4 years here at Frostburg State, finished 10th in that meet. So definitely, a lot to look forward to for the spring and track and stuff as well.
And on the women's side as well, another pretty good year for them. I mean, this has to be remembered that this team didn't field a team at the conference championship as less than 3 years ago. So, Coach Brookshire, to get that team set up and be successful where they are, just to have enough bodies that I'm sure he's happy with nowadays. And it's one that, despite, some injuries, some people missing throughout the year, that they were able to come together and they really showed as a team throughout the year.
Yeah, and the women's right behind the men. Women's, I believe, finished 5th out of 9 teams in the MEC. Another can't complain finish right there. Alana Dice, sophomore right now, ran fantastically, earning second team All MEC. So another athlete, another team to look forward to and see how they compete in the spring.
We'll get into some more of the team aspect after the individual nature of cross-country, although they didn't get to team scores. Frostburg football just missing out on a spot in the NCAA playoffs. 7-3 record overall, 6-3 in the MEC, tied for second with a lot of teams up there and right behind Charleston, who was the 1 seed in the region or 2 seed in the region. But again, some progress being made, just not quite able to get over that hump. But you certainly see the pieces losing a lot of key players, but there's a lot that's returning for next year, and a lot of sophomores, juniors, and freshmen that got a lot of playing time this year.
A lot. There's so much you could say on both sides of the ball. In all classes for football, you look at, talked about losing seniors. Senior quarterback Graham Walker. One of the seniors. finishing out his Frostburg career. Same with, kicker Dane Kuntz, tough players that have led, Frostburg on offense, their 4 years here at Frostburg with, 20 plus more seniors, that finished their Bobcat career this year as well. But yeah, 13 All-MEC honorees for Frostburg State football this year. I know you talked about just missing out on playoffs, but a lot, to look forward to and look in. Darrell Scott coming as a freshman, named Freshman Defensive Player of the Year. Huge, accomplishment for him. Colby Street, Wyland Herrick, Leonard Scott, and Brandon Dillard, all earning that first team All-MEC honor, and then more people sprinkled in and out. Second team All-MEC honorable mention, and a lot of them, like you said, Logan, are a lot that are returning. So definitely, football is going to be definitely still exciting next year as well.
Yeah, and of those 3 losses, there were combined 8 points between those losses. A couple of 3-point losses and a 2-point loss thrown in there. Ending the season on a high note, though, has to be said, a 50-20 victory over Fairmont State that I don't think a lot of people saw coming, except maybe our coaching staff certainly had the confidence. But maybe that'll be the springboard into next year. Potentially a disappointment after missing the playoffs, but can use that game as motivation for next season. We will go then into field hockey, who is going to be introduced into a new conference next year for the first time. They would be joining the PSAC, so congratulations on them. First, for finding a conference. Second, finishing 8-9, another 8-win season for the program that has seen some lows since joining Division II, but head coach Caitlin Thompson and her assistant coach Alyssa are certainly building a program that people are starting to take notice of. Some tough matches against some ranked opponents, including a win over Mansfield, who was ranked 6th at the time, a 5-4 thriller against Pace early in the year. Pace ended up making the tournament, and then just a 1-0 loss against what was the national runner-up against East Stroudsburg at home this year, in a match that you saw, and it was really thrilling, and we weren't that much worse than, at the time, the number 1 team in the country.
Sure, and field hockey, finished 8-9 this year, and I think this was kind of the year for them. Head coach Caitlin Thompson doing a fantastic job with those girls. You see them grow, you see them develop, and they're just so happy to succeed. They started the season 3-0, finishing 8-9 like we said, but the 3-0 start, the best start for that program in 18 years, and that's tremendous, accomplishment right there. They did lose a lot of, I believe 10 seniors, which is a lot, on offense and defense. On offense, like Macy Layfield, defense, a lot of senior leadership there, and Emily Hughes, Emily Bonavert, but Paige lights out, on offense, 7 goals, leading the team, 3 assists on offense. Zoe Barnes in goal, started every game, finished with, I believe, 111 saves. So Caitlin Thompson's looking to build, and like you said, getting into that PSAC. We play a lot of, PSAC teams so far. Kutztown's in there. We've played East Stroudsburg, like you mentioned, IUP. So definitely happy for them to, get into that conference and see what they can do.
Move on then back to the MEC for Frostburg State Volleyball, who made the MEC tournament this year, finishing with a record of 15-16. And, you see a lot of pieces that have come together. Going to be losing 4 seniors that, a good majority are senior or leaders on the team, and some pieces that will be missed, but bringing back your top 4 returners in terms of kills. Fiona Gonzalez Medina on defense led that, got over 500 digs this year, has 1,000 for her career, and you see some building for the future. Head coach Kylie Hine going winless in her first season, a tough year with COVID going on, but has slowly built this program up into being a more respectable unit in this Mountain East Conference, which has a lot of good teams in it, has to be said.
True, and I think, Logan, I guess speak for both of us, we did see a lot of volleyball this season, good and bad. But, Kylie Hine brought in a lot of good freshmen, and she, sprinkled them throughout the season. We saw a lot of action from freshmen, sophomore, junior, senior. I don't think there's a lot of, different starting lineups, different key pieces to this offense and defense for Frostburg State volleyball. But, bringing back Beverly Brown, an absolute, powerhouse, your leader on offense, led the, the MEC conference in kills. Congrats to her for, earning over 1,000 kills and 1,000 digs both in this season. And on defense, you bring back Fiona Gonzalez Medina, earning, over 1,000 digs this season as well. You talk about, the 4, key, leading seniors. You lose Haley Delore, who dished out over another, season for her, who dished out over 1,000 assists. Congrats to her. And you also lose, McKaylee Thompson, Moran, Jenna Gossard, and Katie Keach. But, I think, Coach Kylie Hine did a great job preparing her younger, players for next season and losing those top 4 seniors.
We then will go into men's soccer, who had some, speaking of volleyball, the highs and lows, and men's soccer felt that as well. Started year 3-1. We're 5-4 at one point in the season as well. And you saw, some building and could think maybe this team can do it. Unfortunately, only got one win the rest of the year. What a win that was, by the way, against Wheeling. We'll talk about him a little bit. But Carlos Quintero Rivas in that game, tying the single game scoring record. But 6 wins this year. It's a 2-win improvement from last season. Finished with the same amount of MEC wins, but it's a team that you see some pieces there, and it's just a matter of head coach Keith Burns trying to get them all together and on the same page and trying to challenge, again, a very tough conference at the top end.
Absolutely. The record might not show, but, there's a lot of positives for this men's soccer team. I think we saw a lot of new faces, a lot of transfers coming in, new freshman class, and Keith Burns, this is kind of, the year, you blend it all together, but, a lot of positives to take away. Carlos Quintero Rivas, fantastic, in the forward position up front, tied the single game scoring record in goals for 4 against that win over Wheeling. Then ending, still on a positive note, Carlos Quintero Rivas and Caleb Dell earning, all MEC honorable mentions. So, Dell and Quintero Rivas will both return next year. So definitely, they're working on it, they're rebuilding, and looking forward to men's soccer next season as well.
You're going to be losing some key seniors in there, but you see the youth in the team, and you see enough on the field from the players that were there and played a lot. Mentioned about lineups, and Coach Burns was forced into a lot of that as well. So looking forward to them. And we'll end with women's soccer, who continues to kind of be the flagship program for a lot of these Frostburg State teams. Still the only team to have made an NCAA tournament. It's now back-to-back years for them, 17-3-2. And, we mentioned all of these teams that it's hard to hit those highs, and women's soccer has hit that basically 2 years in a row. One of the finest programs, and head coach Brian Parker has built basically a powerhouse in the Mountain East Conference the past few years, and they just continue to grow and grow. It doesn't matter how many pieces they lose or who they bring back and who they don't. They just continue to roll through this conference.
Yes, there's not enough you could say about women's soccer. And, of course, head coach Brian Parker, every year, you lose important pieces, important key players, and, people step up and they fill those roles. But women's soccer is such, a fun, talented group of girls, a solid team, solid atmosphere. Like you mentioned, their 4th MEC division title, their 3rd straight MEC, championship game appearance, and their 2nd NCAA D2 tournament appearance. They have such, talented girls, on all over the floor. I believe 6 All-MEC honorees, goalkeeper Ashley Bilger, defender Kat Smith, and forward senior Tony Fiaco-Miser, all getting that All-MEC first team honor, as they very, very much deserve. Kat Smith also getting D2 CCA first team all-region, definitely deserves that as well. Adding to Bilger's, accomplishments here at Frostburg State, finishing out her senior year, the single season shutout record here at Frostburg State, along with the career wins record. She'll be joined by 6 other seniors that, that head coach Brian Parker will lose, but they have an exciting freshman class coming in. They're solid every year, have a lot of, key pieces returning, so definitely looking forward for women's soccer next year as well.
Yeah, and one thing to mention, while losing Bilger from that important goalkeeper position where she was first team All-MEC, bring back basically the entire back four with Carolyn DeSena, Kat Smith, May Hammond, and Mary Greco, all of them, you're starting back four that was tied for 3rd in the country in fewest goals allowed. Certainly a key backbone for this team to build forward on. And then you bring back your tied for leading scorer, Maddie Allen, up top while you lose Tony. Maddie has certainly proven this year in her first real season of getting a lot of action that she can lead that line. So we are done with the fall now. We are in the thick of the winter, and it just keeps going one after the other. We've seen a lot of success from these winter teams, and as with women's rugby, a couple of new sports that we're looking into, and men's wrestling and women's wrestling that we're all having to learn about. But we are through that, and we will see you guys back in March. Morgan, thank you for joining me. We will do our winter sports recap later on once we've had time to settle down from the end of the fall.
Yeah, of course, Logan. Thanks for having me. Happy to talk about our successful fall now in the winter, and it's already December here in Frostburg, and happy to see how these teams turn out.
All right, well, fans, thank you for watching. We appreciate you always tuning into our content here from Frostburg State University. And as always, go Bobcats.